Our next speaker is Wesley Sherwood. Wesley Sherwood thinks he is very familiar with change and wants to share his personal experience with change. He has lived in 2 countries, 3 states, and many cities. Tonight, he will share how he successfully navigated these changes. Please join me in welcoming Wesley Sherwood. Life changes consistently.
Fellow Toastmasters and distinguished guests, please raise your hand if you've lived in another state or another country. I see that I have lots of friends in the audience that have had a similar experience as I did. I've lived in 3 states and many cities in those states as well, including living in another foreign country. The first time I moved from one country to another was when I moved from the island of Jamaica that I grew up to New York City. I didn't have much impact on that move, but I felt a lot of gratitude to move away from such a small island to one of the major cities in the world. That feeling of gratitude quickly diminished as I entered the first winter. There was all this excitement for snow, and then when it came and it would not stop falling. I was in the middle of a double blizzard in 1995. Shortly afterwards, I had my mind completely made up that I did not want to live in New York City anymore. I spent a lot of time researching warmer states in America to find a location where I would not have to worry about a blizzard or 30 inches of snow. I spent a lot of time looking online, and Wikipedia became one of my major friends. I started exploring different cities, different climates. What is my earning potential if I lived in Miami versus what is my earning potential if I lived in Fort Lauderdale? What's the traffic like? What does it look like? I made several trips over the years to Miami and South Florida because I had friends and family that lived there, and I thought that destination would be perfect. However, life has a way of changing things. I was talking with a friend of mine, and she explained to me that she was going out to California. Now, I had always heard about California. I had watched the show Saved by the Bell. I'd listened to a lot of music from California. And I thought to myself, hey, I would like to visit California. I would like to see what it's like to be in an environment where it rains maybe 2 months out of the entire year. So I took my friend Liz up on the challenge, and in a month, we found ourselves in San Diego. I thought San Diego was the greatest city I'd ever visited. Well, of course, besides Kingston, where I grew up in Jamaica. As we walked about the city, the temperature was about 65 degrees. There was a small wind blowing. There was almost no day when it rained. It was the perfect weather to be at the beach. And it was right there on the coast. So the beach was literally several feet away from where the hotel was. I was in love. I thought to myself, I have to move to San Diego. And then I remembered, wait, I'd made all these plans for Florida. So I started doing an analysis. I made a list of all the pluses and minuses of Florida. I made all the pluses and minuses of living in California. The major ones were, if I lived in Florida, I would be so close to Jamaica. But California had a major disadvantage being that it was on the West Coast. So there was always an additional 5 hours of flight time if I ever decided to go to Jamaica. So I had a deal breaker. I said to myself, whichever state I get a job offer from first, that's where I'll move. 2 weeks later, I received an invite for an interview in El Centro, California. Now, if you've never heard of El Centro, California, it's in the middle of the desert in Southern California. It's just about 50 miles away from the Colorado River. but it's 120 miles away from the ocean. This may be a deal breaker. I went to visit El Centro, drove about the town for a little bit, and there are several things that stood out for me. First of all, as I was flying into El Centro, I noticed the barrenness outside of the town. And I thought to myself, I really would like to see that. I had read online about the Salton Sea, which is an ancient salt lake in El Centro, and I wanted to visit that. I wanted to see what that was all about. So as soon as I got my car, I was driving around the town, looking around, trying to see everything that's going on. And as I'm driving around, I noticed the road is so dry that it's cracked everywhere. I said to myself, this must be where the sun lives on those cold, wintry nights in New York. I left the town and I drove around for a little bit just to kind of get an idea of what life was like outside of the city. There was nothing as far as my eyes could see. I would see little tumbleweeds rolling by and some cacti here and there, but there was literally nothing. I got on the phone and I called Liz and I said, hey Liz, I'm over here in El Centro, California. You would not believe it. There is nothing out here. Once you leave outside of the town, there is nothing. So Liz and I had progressed from being friends to now she was my girlfriend. She was all excited to move to California. So I got an offer for the job in California, and she decided, let's go for a trip back out to El Centro, see what we think about it, and then make a decision. When we visited El Centro, the first thing she did when we left outside of the town was nothing. She just sat there. I said, what's the matter? She said, you told me there was nothing outside of the town, and I thought there would be no people, maybe no houses, but there would be bushes around. But there is literally nothing. It's like we're on the surface of the moon. What is this place? This place is crazy. The airport is the size of a house. There's only one gate. I don't know why they're saying over the PA system, please go to gate number 1, because there is only one gate. Anyway, we decided to move to El Centro, California with plans of eventually moving to San Diego. But this whole experience taught me several lessons. Lesson number 1, always have a plan. Lesson number 2, always research your information, because that's going to affect how good of a plan you have. And lesson number 3 is to always be flexible and be prepared, because things don't always go as planned. If you follow these examples, you will be successful if you try to do a cross-country move. I did such a great job that I actually moved twice. Madam Toastmaster?
Good evening, fellow Toastmasters and distinguished guests, and Wesley. Wow, what a story it is. From the very beginning to the very end. I am like glued to the screen on listening to your speech title itself. Life changes consistently. The title itself is like very apt to the story that you told us. And from the very beginning, you started off with a question, and that question is relatable to almost all of us. I see almost all of us raise the hand, which means that we are all connected to your story from the very beginning onwards. And it is very humorous. Yeah, I was literally laughing, and I saw many people, many of our Toastmasters members laughing. And at some points, especially where you mentioned like Wikipedia became my friend, and airport is the size of the house. That was hilarious. Yeah, that was really hilarious. And I really liked the way you portrayed these anecdotes, I would say. Maybe I am wrong on that. And your audience engagement, audience awareness is good. Clarity of your speech is perfect. And the background and your attire is awesome. One thing I would like you to improve, or I can suggest, is area of improvement as your vocal variety. At times I felt like there are ups and downs, but yeah, that's the only area that I felt that there is a room for improvement. And the other thing is, I saw everyone is laughing except you actually during that at some points where it is so hilarious, and I couldn't understand like why Wesley is not laughing. And yeah, that was it is not an improvement though, but yeah, maybe you could add a little smile wherever, especially you are mentioning these anecdotes. And ending is also perfect actually, like you provide us some life lessons from your story with a humorous story. And definitely like from one of the speakers, like um, who received Toastmasters Public Speaking Award, International Award. He mentioned that when you provide a lesson with a humorous speech, the people are going to get that. They are going to get that lesson imprinted onto them for a long time. And this is one such lessons, I would say. Overall, fantastic, fabulous story. Over to you, General Evaluator.